My reign as a Jeopardy champion lasted almost 35 minutes.
This was coming, like the waiting room of the vasectomist, and I know that's not what he's called. I know there's like a fancy word, but...
If you leave, I have nothing left to live for.
The anesthesiologist and the nurse wheel my baby down the hall and through a set of heavy double doors. Arlo has a number of defects related to his Down syndrome, and one of them was duodenal atresia. His stomach was not attached to his intestine when he was born. And he's been fed intravenously for 5 weeks, but now they're going to fix it. At 1:30, I get a call from the surgeon, and she says that anesthesia's done, and he's asleep, and they're going to start the surgery. This operation should take 3 to 4 hours. My mom and I get lunch at the cafeteria, and then we head back to the NICU, where Arlo's twin is. And Patrick is healthy. He just has to hit some milestones. They were preemies, so he has to hit some milestones before he gets sprung. And so my mom and I take turns rocking Patrick and feeding Patrick. And 3 o'clock, the nurse says, "The OR's on the phone for you, Mom." And I'm like, it's early. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, there's been some sort of complication, and they're calling for consent to do some sort of procedure to fix whatever got fucked up. And so I kind of stiff-arm the sink, and I pick up the phone, I say, hello. And this woman, young-sounding woman, says that they're still working, everything's fine, they just want to let me know. So 4 o'clock, phone rings again, nurse says, it's for you. And again, I tense up, but it's the same woman. She's saying, we're still working, it's going fine. 4:50, same woman, same message. So 5:50 comes, and I'm watching the clock. And now it's 4.5 hours into the surgery. And I watch the minutes tick by. Any minute they're gonna call, right? Any minute. And 15 minutes go by, and I start welling up for the 1,000th time that day, and I say to my mom, like, what's taking so long? And she's like, I don't know. And it's been a hard day, but 6:20 is when I go to a very, very dark place. I imagine the operating room. I see my little guy splayed open. I can hear the machine emitting one steady beep. The doctor says, call it like they do in TV shows. And I think about what it's going to be like to be sad for the rest of my life. Because how could I not be sad for the rest of my life? I rehearse conversations that I'll have with Patrick about how he once had a brother named Arlo, and we loved him very much. The doctors did everything they could, but they couldn't save him, and that's why Mommy's sad all the time. I wonder how I will tell people that I lost my son in a status update on fucking Facebook. 6:30, I have one moment of hope. I'm thinking, okay, 5 hours, they're so close to being done, they're just not bothering to call. They're like, well, we'll just finish up. But that's immediately replaced by the certainty that they're all in a huddle outside the nursery just trying to figure out how they're gonna tell me that my son's dead. Would they come into the nursery? There's so many people here, I can't imagine that they do that. Will they usher me into the hallway? Is there a room? Maybe there's a room that's full of soft furniture and boxes of Kleenex, and that's reserved for the delivery of bad news. How far is that room from the nursery? I imagine the walk. I can hear my shoes on the tile. I can see the flicker of the dying fluorescent bulb. And I'm just a flood. 6:40, my mom, who has the steadiest half-smile poker face of anyone I've ever met, starts looking pinched. At 7, my sister shows up, and she looks at my face, and she's startled. And I know that I'm a mess. I'm totally, like, greasy and blotchy from crying all day, and I'm just worn. But I'm thinking about, like, how could I have not spent every waking moment in the NICU? Like, how could I have gone home? How could I have read my book club book? I shoveled mulch. How could I shovel mulch? I'm such an asshole. And at 7:20, the surgeon walks in. She's still got the marks on her face from the mask. And I'm looking at her face, and she looks not grim. She looks kind of neutral, light even. I say, "Is he okay?" And she goes, "Yeah," kind of surprised. And I was like, "He's okay? He's okay." And she said, "He's fine." The surgery had taken longer than she expected because anesthesia on someone so small, and, you know, they had trouble finding his intestine and something about a tube that kept curling up. I didn't fucking care. I didn't care. My baby was alive, and he was in recovery, and I could see him in an hour, and I clutched my chest, and I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. Thank you. The twins turned 1 last week.
Amy Scott, you guys. Give it up for Amy. All right.